And today we're talking about life priorities and how to figure out what your order is, what your priorities are, and in other words, what your instinctual stacking is. In another video, I talked about the 3 basic drives, which you can also see here. But please watch that before you continue with this video, because you need to know what those drives are roughly about. And if you watch the other videos on the subjects, you might already have an idea on which of the instinct is your first or second or third. So, as I say in my previous videos, we all are concerned with these 3 instincts / drives. Social, you can guess, social activities, social groups, social bonds, social connections, social status, things like that. Self-preservation, preserving the self and the selves of other people. Food, drink, clothing, housing. And the sexual instinct, which is mainly about sexual connections, but primarily intimate romantic bonds, romance, and also passions and intensity. That's the very short rundown of it. Alright, so as I said, we all care about these instincts, but what is important is to know which one is your first, which one is your second, and which one is your third. Because this is gonna determine what makes you the most happy in life and what you can neglect a little bit. Of course, the ideal is that you're gonna master each instinct, but that can be very stressful and very time consuming. So we need to focus on the first instinct primarily, and then the second instinct. And the third, in my experience at least, tends to regulate itself over time. It becomes healthier over time on its own, just because your mental health heavily depends on your first and second instinct. And if you optimize those instincts, then naturally your mental health rises, and that also makes the last instinct improve or rise, or you develop a more healthy or balanced approach to it. Alright, so how do you figure out the order? Okay, so the first instinct is your main occupation, your main focus, and I also say it is your kryptonite. It is the instinct that can make you the happiest, but it can also make you the most despaired. You need to really have the first instinct at a good level in order to feel happy in your life, otherwise you're going to be very unhappy. The second instinct is the second most important one, and you also need that in order to feel really happy, but it is a bit more flexible. I'm going to talk about that later as well. The last instinct is like a sore spot. It is a bit more vulnerable, and you don't really care about it that much. It's on the bottom of your priority list. Now, many people think, okay, so the first instinct means I'm the best at that instinct, the second is the second best, and the third is the worst. And that's actually not always the case. It is possible to be stronger or weaker at each instinct, regardless of the specific order. However, I have found that the most potential strength is in the second instinct. As I said earlier, the first instinct is your kryptonite, so it is also vulnerable in a way. You are very vulnerable in that area because you care so much about it. The irony is the most vulnerable spots are the ones that you care the most about and the least about. And that's why the second instinct can shine, because it is in the middle. It is the most balanced. And I have an analogy for that. So I call it the bucket analogy. That's a nice bucket there. Yeah, oh well. Okay, so let's say this is the first instinct. The problem with this instinct is that any beverage you put into it turns into the most blissful beverage you can imagine. It is like the liquid of bliss. It is anything that is gonna make you very intensely happy. So if that goes right, it's awesome. The problem is you can never get enough of it. imagine your favorite beverage. You can never get enough of it, right? So that's the problem with the first bucket. The second one, okay, let's jump to the third one. So the problem with the third bucket is that it has a hole in the bottom. So no matter how much you pour into it, it's always gonna just go through. It doesn't stick. So this illustrates that all the extra time and effort you put into this instinct is gonna be sort of wasted to some extent. You're gonna waste your energy in a way because it is not really fulfilling you, literally. It's not filling you up. So it's just going through, and you are wasting time if you focus too much on this bucket. Then the second one. Now maybe I should have made this red. I mean the other one red because it's the loveliest beverage. So the loveliest one. The third one is kind of defective. And the second one is just right. The second one is the most balanced. I tend to say that this bucket holds water. So it's the most balanced. Now, what does it mean exactly? Okay, so it means that basically you should put more effort into the second instinct than the first or third. Well, not always, but in my experience, people have a hidden strength in that area. I always say as well that you should focus on the first and then the second instinct in terms of what needs to be fulfilled in your life. But when it comes to what really is going to put you above the average person, what is really going to make you more excellent in life, the key is the second instinct. There are different stackings. Let me put the abbreviations there. SO, social is SO, self-preservation is SP, and sexual is SX. Okay, so you can imagine all the different combinations. SO, SP, SO, SX, SP, SO, SP, SX, SX, SP, SX, SO. In enneagram, at least, we only focus on the first two instincts, also because the third one is neglectable and the third one is the last one. What does it mean for someone who's social first, self-preservation second? It means that in order to find the most happiness, they should focus on social activities, social events, and so forth, and maximizing their understanding in those areas. However, when it comes to actually their calling in life, call it career, business, passion, and so forth, the self-preservation matters are gonna be better for them. So people who are self-preservation second tend to be better at finances, at anything that preserves things, at food stuff, so to speak. It can be a wide range. It can also be things that are about taking care of your body and optimizing your physicality. As I said, you need to watch the other videos to really get a good idea on it. So, but what if they're sexual second? Then their strength is in intensity, in passions, in romance, in attractiveness, in optimizing those areas. Now, if your second instinct is social, let's say you're self-preservation first, social second, or you are sexual first, social second, in those cases, your strength is going to be in the social arena. Politics, social activism perhaps, friendships, bonds, and so forth. Now in politics, many people in politics are SO first, because it is the most valuable for them. But people who are social second, SX first, social second, those are the revolutionaries. Those are the people who bring a new era. The problem is the unhealthier we become, the worse each instinct becomes. So if you're very mentally unhealthy, if you're depressed, if you're suicidal, usually all your instincts are messed up. But most times there's a trigger, and that trigger is usually the first instinct getting debilitated, and then the last instinct is being called for. The last instinct is trying to compensate because those are often the instincts we obsess over in a way. But that doesn't help, because the last instinct, as I said, is like a bucket with a hole in it on the bottom. It doesn't really fulfill you. So then you realize, oh my god, I'm depressed, I have not fixed the first area. And then people might go to the second area. I still think that the easiest way to figure out your instincts is to watch the previous videos and basically just rank them. We have the social, self-preservation, and sexual instincts. So just watch the videos you can find also down below and rank them. Figure out, okay, which do I care about the most, second, and last. Does it make you the most happy to feel socially connected, socially valuable in terms of friends, social groups, and so forth? Then that's your first or second instinct. Does it make you feel better or happy or more fulfilled if self-preservation matters get sorted out? If you have security, stability, food, drink, housing, clothing, all those things to your personal preferences. Or the sexual instinct. Do you feel the most happiness if sexual or romantic relations go well? If you have a good romantic partner? If you have passions in your life? If you're being creative? So that might work for you, you know, like figuring out which of these things are the most and least important to you, and which ones make you the most happy. That's the key. That's also why I'm doing these videos, because I have found that knowing these things can give you a blueprint or a roadmap on how to improve your happiness. It helped me so much to know, okay, the social matters have to be met. I have to meet people regularly. I have to be socially involved. And the sexual instinct, I need to be creative. I also kind of need to, you know, have romantic interactions. And I don't mean like necessarily sexual, you know, but like romantic, love, things like that. And for me, the self-preservation instinct can be neglected. I don't get any increased feeling of happiness primarily from that instinct. It's kind of neglectable for me. So yeah, it's really important that you figure this stuff out. Your entire life is just revolving around these instincts or these drives. So once you know which ones you actually care about, that's when you can create a master plan for yourself. In the past, I created a master plan where I would go through each instinct and figure out, okay, what do I need to do for this, and this instinct? And I would work on that. And I kind of have a master plan at the moment as well. But generally, it is more flexible for me now. Anyway, the point is, you have to know this to increase your happiness. As I said, it can be very, very beneficial to know your order and know what makes you happy, and also what makes other people happy if you can figure out the orders of other people. Now, this stuff can be tricky to understand and it can be tricky to apply. I started with this for a while, but what helped me in the end was knowing what made me the most happy in my childhood and what made me the most happy when I was younger, and basically when I was at my best, when I was at my happiest, and when I was not so depressed as I was back then. And I figured out that I cared the most about these two instincts, or I never really cared about that one, and that sold it for me. Anyway, so I can understand if it's tricky. If it's still tricky for you to do it on your own, you can get a typing session with me. For that, please go to our Facebook page, go to services. There it's called Get Typed, and I can type your enneagram. It is called enneagram/instincts, and then you will figure out your order, and you will also figure out what is your limiting belief system. That's what the 9 enneagram types are about. All right, and I would also like it if you join the group, of course, and like, share, and subscribe. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. See you, bye.